Alright, good evening. So I'm going to get back to work here. I got to work on my game options configuration system for everything. And where we dropped it last time was we got it so we could roll new game options and get those all set up. So what we need to do is have the games actually fetch a game option set when they start up. So kind of how it works is we've got our arena level blueprint, which has most of the stuff right now, and then we've got our game mode. And that's kind of how it is right now. And then the game mode has all these different states. So the question is, where are we going to roll these things? I think the arena level blueprint needs to be in control of this. So on load, it's going to select one. We're going to get like a get default level configuration. So we need like a so that's what we need to grab. So we need that. All right. So let's open up some of these things that we have. We've got our options and everything else in there. So we've got our configuration variables, which has all the stuff on it. Alright, so our game mode is going to need this thing. So let's be able to set it, let's be able to get it, and all that sort of stuff. Alright, so we need to include that stuff. So it's going to be the Dashkin game mode data.h. So I'll just start filling this out. And I guess we need a delegate for if our game mode stuff has changed. No, we probably don't. So that'll be the game mode that we use when we actually started up this whole thing, and then we're going to need a current game mode. And the current game mode is going to be something that's also replicated. Did I throw something like this already in the instance? No. Well, where should the current game mode live? It's got to be something that all the clients have. So I guess like not the player state, but the game states. All right. And we're gonna need an event for this. So like when the game configuration is been changed. Okay, so we already have one. It's game mode configuration changed. Alright, so we're going to need a replicated variable here which has the game mode configuration. So this will be replicated, and we want like an onRep. Let me see, where is the onRep stuff defined? Alright, cool. So blueprint read only? Yeah, we should probably have it like that. So have something here for the game mode options for like reset game mode config and then like a set game mode config. And we already got a get, so that's fine. So we need to go to our game state.cpp. Let's make sure we do rep lifetime game mode config. Alright, so reset game mode config, set game mode config. So I'll reset it on both of these. And we also need to go to our events, and we need to throw our event. Alright, so if we go to this guy, it's going to be Dashkin UI events. Game mode configuration changed. And we're just going to pass our game mode config in there. Alright, so that'll be our game mode stuff. Let's put it somewhere, yeah, just someplace simple. Alright, so for our Dashkin game mode, we're gonna, I guess, do we want the game mode to actually subscribe to that event? And so we actually get it so that we can report it? It's probably a good idea. So get a copy of that game mode, and we'll want like a void on game mode config updated. Excuse me. And we'll bind an event to this thing. Let's make it private actually. Alright, so this is an actor. So basically on begin play we want to bind to the UI events game mode configuration changed. Alright, so it's going to be u-dashkin UI events, and this is, yeah, we'll get this. Alright, so a-dashkin game mode. On configuration update. So I'm not sure if that's the right syntax or not. So this will be where our game mode config actually exists. And I can't talk today. What's going on? Alright, let's compile this. On rep game mode config not found. Alright, so u function void on rep game mode config. That's in our game state, so let's go ahead and that's been replicated, so let's call the event to broadcast that it has been. actually changed. I'll try to get this more sorted out. It's been kind of circling around getting started on and actually getting into the meat of these game options tasks. There's been a lot of stuff that's coming and just really messed up my work getting into it. A bunch of design stuff that was all necessary, and then a whole bunch of stuff for the update. So it just throws a huge wrench into trying to continue development. All day forest. Nice. Well, it's nice to see people actually online. Uses undefined struct F game mode configuration. I guess we need to include the file that defines that then. Dashkin game mode data.h. Deploy. You gotta just include all the things. That's just what has to happen. So let's do so. Use of undefined type Dashkin UI events in the game state. Alright. Well then. Well then. So what I want to do today is I want to get the game mode actually being used so I can start actually implementing a few of the things. Hello, Goovin. Development is continuing. Basically, working on those game options so that we can have pretty much a really endless amount of different game modes that'll be cycled through by our servers, which I hope will be really cool. Like, we'll have just tons of different things that'll be happening, so I'm pretty happy for that. Are we doing power-ups in the game mode? The game mode configuration would support power-ups being like turned on or off later, but we'd have to like actually make the power-ups first for us to throw it in here. So no, it doesn't have them, but it's we'll be getting there eventually. What do you mean there's no bind? This should definitely have a bind as a thing here. I guess it's unbind with a capital B for that. Yeah, power-ups, I don't know if we'll have power-ups as well. As in, we have designs for lots of these things. Blueprint assignable U property, which is an event. Because we have a whole thing on us. Where's it? Bind raw is what it's using. Get delegate. We have a whole ability thing that will be going over. Bind action. We have a whole ability system iteration that we'll be doing at one point, at some point. Like, it's supposed to be bind. Bind to an existing delegate object, bind static, bind uObject, bind to uObject based member function delegate uObject, bind to shared pointer based, shared pointer. I mean, what does it have? Binding multicast delegates. Multicast adds a function delegate. I guess it's add and then remove. So we'll see exactly what we do with power-ups and things of that nature. I'm not really a fan of power-ups for it, mainly because like power-ups are a consumable resource on the map, and since we're running around all over the place, going and like snagging a power-up might just halt the game. I really hate that I don't have any fucking examples. It's like they have all this documentation about how they work, and then they don't have any example code of it. It's like, come on. Is it add dynamic? Like it's just stupid that I have to go guess through all this stuff. You'd expect them to have like, yeah, delegates are kind of the thing you always use, and just have one goddamn example in C++. Like not just have a big document describing what it does. Be like, we get it, they're delegates. Like delegates are a known quantity. Don't have 3 paragraphs describing that. All I want to know is the goddamn format. Alright, so that's the format. Add dynamic. Do they have that anywhere on their actual site? Yeah, no, they don't. They have it on the forums, though. Okay, so we have it on the game mode, all that. Alright, so current game mode config. The blueprint will vote on a new one. Okay, so how we need to run all this stuff is we need a good way to access the game mode and get variables off of it. The game mode configuration. Let's see, what would be a good way to do this? We could have it as part of the arena level blueprint, could actually have that thing. And we could bind to the event when it changes. But if it's on the game state, yeah. So the arena level could fetch a copy. Let me see if it's inside of game objects. We've got our level actor. Got our level options. Yeah, that's really old. That's really old stuff. So the easiest way to access this stuff from blueprints would be to have the arena level blueprint have stuff on it, I think. Or we'd have like a public static get game options thing, like get current game options, which should be part of. I mean, it doesn't have to be part of the player state or anything else. It can just be part of the gameplay utils. Not a bad idea. So we'd have something like static. It's not the game mode configuration that we need, it's the options for it. Yeah, so it'll be F game mode configuration bars. So get game mode config bars. And that's going to copy it out, so that's not really the best. I'm not really super thrilled with that. Because every time we'd fetch this thing, it's going to copy it. And it's a bunch of variables, but it's like we just want to know if something's true or false or something. Is there some way to avoid the copy? I mean, not exactly. I mean, we could get like a const reference, perhaps, to something that is going to go out of scope or not go out of scope. I mean, we could have a U property that's static that has the game mode configuration variables on it. So we could kind of do something like this. And we would, inside of what, our player state or our game state? Yeah, probably on our game state, when we do set game mode config, because this is the thing that's actually going to change. We're going to do like u-dashkin gameplay utils, game mode config, and we're going to set that to game mode, and then we're going to grab the config bars off of this thing. And that will set our static variable, and we'll be able to do stuff. And we can grab all that. Alright, it's not too bad. Alright, let's get the startup game mode. Configuration, yeah. Though I guess we'll see about power-ups and how it all works later, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have a different system for how we have abilities and stuff like that. Power-ups kind of reminds me of like, you know, Rocket League power-ups with all that stuff, and we'll see. We will see. Did I not make that static? God, I hate how Visual Studio does things sometimes. Where it'll be like, oh, you hit a window? You know, like, you obviously don't want that to open up again. You know, you were just typing in there. Obviously, it needs to go to the end of the list, so you can never find it again. Thanks, Visual Studio. You certainly know how to do things. Unrecognized type static must be uClass, uStructure, uEnum. So we can't have a static thing like this that can be accessible by blueprints. I mean, we could fetch it off of the game state, which should always be available, so we could do it that way. Alright, so we'll set our config vars. Do it like that. Alright, so we should be able to access things from Blueprint now. And we should also have a default game mode, which should have all of this stuff set to default, so we can actually start implementing things. So, we'll see. And we've got, what, 60 to 110? So we got about 50 game mode options that I have to actually implement for this thing. Including all sorts of stuff, like even jumping has stuff that needs to be implemented. So the game state should be available to everybody, and I guess everybody's going to fetch it from the game state, like so. Alright, so why don't we start off with setting a few things. So ball linear damping. Let's just start working on it. So the ball is going to get this thing. And actually what I might want to do is I might want to go through every single one of these and make a function out of it that actually goes and fetches the variable directly on the object. Should I make it manually or should I make it automatically? I should make it automatically. Alright, so let's go to our templates here. So this is going to be in our data, so game mode data, and I guess game mode data.h. So let's get our specific game mode option fetchers. So these will be public, and what we want is we're going to list, this is under game objects, so objects underscore game objects. Alright, I need to set variable free Mercury. What's the syntax for that? Defining variables in a template. Alright, so we're going to go through and it's going to be like list objects underscore game objects dot objects as object. And we'll want to do if object.name is equal to this game mode configuration bars, then we're going to assign game mode config bars equals object. Okay, so then what we want to do is list game mode config bars dot variables as variable. So I think that'll grab this guy. And then we're going to want like a static U function blueprint callable. And we want the type so we need to go to the objects, shared objects. Right, so these are all going to be primitives. So primitives and enums. Okay, so if the variable is complex, we don't need that. So it's going to be if the variable is an array, if variable is complex, else if variable is enum. Okay, so it's going to be somewhere around here. So if the variable is an enum, and we're not going to have arrays here. So it's just like if it's an enum, do this. Otherwise, just do this. So And let's see, let's just do like gem underscore for a good prefix on there. So I'll have all these static types. Let's see if it's an enum. Do that. Alright, and then we'll have our fetchers here. So we're going to grab the variable first, and then we're going to list all the variables out. So we don't need that, so okay, so we're going to want to snag the actual current stop, so it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be this get Dashkin game state. Alright, so we'll have some default variables here that we can reference. So otherwise we're going to get the game mode config bars variable.name. So this should give us a whole bunch of easy access functions which will do all the things that we want them to. Alright, let's see if this generates as we want. So what's broken? Gameplay constants. Forgot to save something here. Okay, it's pissed off because 129 of gameplay constants. 129 is right here. Exception encountered end of list was expecting something else. Oh, okay, so we need like a end if there. That makes sense. Alright, let's see what we've got rolling around here. Alright, so if we go to our gameplay utils, it's going to be inside of generated game mode data. We've got all these static floats. Yeah, these need to be functions, and I forgot to make them functions. Alright, so yeah, that looks correct. And then we've got a bajillion of these guys. Did I put these in the wrong thing? Yeah, this shouldn't be in game mode constants. This is supposed to be in game mode data. Alright, we'll try regenerating that. And I probably screwed up some of the copy paste on this. Yep, totally did. Alright, so screwed up the parentheses again. And I guess I can make all these const. So why don't we just go ahead and do that? If I make them const, then it'll be easier to snag data out of these things than blueprints, I believe. I'll have to double check it. Yeah, you can see writing all those out by hand to be a complete pain in the ass. So if we have all these like ball linear damping game mode options as functions, we can just call those functions, forget about it, not have to worry about that huge like grab a function thing and then break a structure out and drag a single pen out of a 50 structure, a 50 variable structure, which is just stupid. It should make it so we just call the function, get the variable, and it should be a green function which doesn't need an input white arrow. It should just work. Modifiers not allowed on static member functions. Really? Alright, well, never mind then. And as always, I'm just waiting for things to compile because there's no meaning to life. I need to remove static from all this crap. Alright, so that should fix that. Starting to come together. I'm a little bit scattered on developing all this stuff at the moment. But I think once I get the framework for, like, this is how the configuration works, this is how we get it going, it'll be a lot cleaner in my head as to how everything is laid out.